So let's get back to forgiveness. It takes a great human being to be forgiving. It takes us, all of us, to get bigger, meaning our bodies. When our bodies can hold forgiveness and sorrow and preciousness and joy and bliss, all when a body can contain that, you know, all these feelings side by side. That's what I call powerfully living in the tension of the paradox of life. And the tension of the paradox is, I can be upset at something and I can witness my upset. And in the same breath, in the same moment, I can make a choice to let it go. Because if you really think about it, when someone upsets us or a situation upsets me or you, what good is it to hold on to it? Like, what does it do? It completely disintegrates my well-being. It doesn't give me any agency. It doesn't give me any delight. There's that word again. It's just a breakdown. And it corrodes the beauty and the joy and the bliss which we always have access to when we choose. So either one of those, the corrosion is a choice. It is. It's like I have stuff happen and it's difficult and often it's very sad. And the reactivity that other people have towards me or towards the things that I say, or, you know, sometimes you have stuff going on with family members or with lovers or with husbands, ex-husbands, children. The choice of how that goes and where it goes and how you be with it, how I be with it, is mine. The choice is yours. And we don't take enough agency, don't take enough responsibility, the ability to respond to situations. And I believe that forgiveness, just like acknowledgement I talked about last week, is a huge, powerful tool. So when I find myself in a place of discomfort, you know, my body is discomfortable, something doesn't sit right, it doesn't sit well, the first place I go to is acknowledgement. And when the acknowledgement doesn't want to quite gel, when it's not happening, or I can't see it, or I'm having a hard time seeing it in that person, or I'm having a hard time being it or giving it, I go to forgiveness. I go, what is it that I'm holding on to? What is it that I'm entrenched in, that I am not willing to give up? Like, what am I not willing to give up? I'm looking at my candle here because it's starting to die. So let me just light another one because I want to make sure that we have a candle while we're talking. And it's interesting because the minute I go to forgiveness, the minute I go to a place of, well, is it an acknowledgement that I'm not doing either for someone else or for myself? Or what's happening? Like, what am I feeling? Is the feeling world is the portal into it. It's not in the mind. So the process of forgiveness is not a process that, at least not for me, I don't know how it is for you. It's like when I have to forgive someone, I usually wear this ring. So I wore this ring today. It's a big heart. You see? To remind me, because we forget. And sometimes the person that you want to forgive or you haven't forgiven is you. In AA, there's a practice that when we write a first step, which is, you know, it's like you make amends to people and like you put yourself on that list first. Forgiving others, forgiving myself. And we don't do that. we don't do it with others, and we don't do it with ourselves. We surely have a very hard time doing it with ourselves. So knowing and understanding that that's possible, knowing and understanding and having it as part of my toolbox for life, you know? It's not like we go to school for these things. Unfortunately, this stuff doesn't get taught to our children. I didn't get this in college. Even people who are doing master's degrees in psychology and therapists and psychotherapists and you know, the other ones that prescribe medication. It's like they don't talk about this stuff a lot. There are some, and the practices of those therapists, which I am so grateful for, are so different. But in the all over scheme, like in the health and mental health and emotional body and what's happening with foster children, it's like there's a huge gap, in my view. There's a huge gap that needs to be filled, or wants to be filled, is calling to be filled. And it doesn't have to do with the technicality of the psychology and are you bipolar or are you... I believe that a lot of the pain that we're experiencing in the world could be eliminated by just noticing one another. And forgiveness is a huge part of noticing. Like, you've really got to be there with the other person. You got to be there and walk a mile in their shoes. Walk 4 steps in their shoes. Like, don't even walk a mile. You know, there's this beautiful story that I tell sometimes because we're never in somebody else's life, you know? And forgiveness often is a very hard thing to access. Very difficult emotion to access for a lot of people because we're so armored and we're so shut down, okay? So when that armor, in German it's called Panzer. Panzer, it's such a great word. Panzer. Panzer. It's like, it really describes armor. You know, the shell of a tortoise. Thank you guys for all your hearts and your beautiful, beautiful faces and flowers that are coming up. So this armor is so thick and strong and ancient that it has become ossified against the heart and the body and the skin. It's like become a second piece of our body. And in order to, first of all, in order to even have an awareness about it, the way isn't to look at yourself in the emotional mirror, but I believe that the way for us is to inward, is go in. So that's what self-image therapy is about. It's like I'm going in and I'm going, what's happening in there? Is it dark? Is it crowded with thoughts and feelings and emotions that are waiting to get out? And the armor, the Panzer, is so strong. You know, it's like a straitjacket. And that's where I believe forgiveness can melt. Because when we really look at one another and we see the God in the other person, we see the grace, and we choose to not look at that which is bad, meaning don't seek your sister's or your brother's guilt, but seek their greatness. And seek their greatness. Not even but. And. Then you give the other person an opportunity and yourself an opportunity to take in something that's so precious. Notice when you do this, like if you choose to do this as a practice, notice what people do. Like they won't take you for real. You know, they'll go, are you for real? Like, what do you want? Like, what do you want from me? Why are you saying these things? And, you know, if you try to talk to someone, and I don't know, some of you might be in the program and you have conversations of making amends to people, you know, and then there's like a practice, you get in their face you connect with them at a level that's really deep and beautiful and powerful and present. And you make your amends, and there's a certain practice that goes with that. And I've noticed, I mean, I don't know, for 36 years or 30 whatever years doing this practice, that when I choose to do this, and sometimes it was very hard, I melted my own ice. I melted my own armor from the inside. And suddenly it wasn't there. And there's a sense of freedom in that is indescribable.